today I am driving another car from the early 2000s MG Rover stable. But if you can see over my shoulder here through the rear window, can you guess what it is? I'll tell you something. It's a Monogram, whatever it is. Way! It's great fun.
Welcome to Beards and Bangers.
So the MG ZS was part of the Phoenix Consortium's attempt to get MG Rover being sort of a popular, successful brand again. So they took the Rover 45, which, as you may or may not know, was based on the Honda Domani, or Domini, whatever it's called, and they tweaked the suspension, which was ideally set up because you've got Honda underpinnings under here, and the suspension's really good. So in actual fact, this car was best placed to be turned into an MG Z car. Now this is a Mark 1, so we've got the lovely twin headlights, and of course we haven't got the X-Power kind of styling cues with the fins, but I do think the Mark 1s do look nice. You've got the nice big spoiler. This is a saloon, so we can see if we step back, you know, are the saloons more attractive than the hatchbacks? I think so. A lot of people do think that, but it's your choice. If you like the hatchback more, then great. The other thing that MG Rover did was to launch the Monogram program, and that was basically a program where car buyers could customize their car to their own specifications, so they could add optional extras inside, but also, and probably more famously, they could choose their own paint. So this particular car is a Monogram. This is Twilight, Monogram Twilight. There were 3 of these in the UK, I believe, and 2 of those have now been scrapped. So this is the only one like this. It's the only MG ZS 180 in Twilight on the UK roads. There are, I believe, 2 others on the continent. So in Europe there are 2 other Twilight MG ZS 180. So the Monograms are rare, they are sought after. This one isn't for sale, but it's such a great car. This was actually used in the lineup at the MG 100 at Silverstone a few weeks ago. So this car, owned by Matt, was in that lineup, and we'll actually look at another car in another video that was also in that lineup that is possibly even more special. But yeah, really attractive. It's a funny old day today. It's kind of bit sunny, bit drizzly, bit cloudy. Can't really make up its mind, and these cars really do sort of change colour as the weather changes. But yeah, really nice looking car. We'll get our heads under the bonnet, we'll have a look inside, just to refresh our memories as to what a ZS 180 is like. So under the bonnet, what sets the ZS 180 apart from the others is it has the KV6 engine. So Rover 45s were made with a KV6 for a short period of time. They had a 2-litre KV6, generally in the connoisseur spec. That was dropped because it was just not an efficient engine, and for the company car market, the 1.8 naturally aspirated engine was a lot better. But the KV6 was obviously in the MG ZT, and in the 175 brake horsepower form, we've got it in the ZS 180 as well. So let's remind ourselves of the actual setup here. So the air cleaner is different. Now this isn't the stock air cleaner. We normally have some sort of gubbins here. So it's got an ITG filter down here. You can probably just see that, and then we've got it coming up into the throttle body. So we've got this balance pipe on the throttle body on these always. Alternators kind of mounted in the V, and then the key difference we've got with the KV6 is we've got this variable length inlet manifold. So we've got 2 motors here and here, and they control the length of the inlet manifold. So that means you've got a nice even torque curve throughout the rev range. So these engines really do sit up at about 4,000 RPM. Batteries in here, we've got our ABS module down here, brake fluid reservoir here, coolant expansion tank on these are up here, so a bit of a different place to the ZT V6s and 75s where it's down here. power steering, and we've got our screen wash reservoir there. So yeah, they're good engines. Again, you've got to keep them maintained. You haven't got the head gasket issues the potentially you've got with the K series, but you still got to watch your coolant levels. They can dump their coolant, and that then leads to obviously catastrophic results. But you've got to keep your oil changes done. Make sure the oil's, you know, changed regularly, because if you get any contaminants, then it will affect the vis motors and the very delicate butterfly valves that are inside the inlet manifold. So you know, again, important if you're buying one of these are getting quite rare, these are getting quite valuable. So, you know, please make sure that it's got some history and that you know, it's been well maintained. Really, really important with these cars. So let's have a look at the lines of the car. Yeah, so they're an attractive thing. I do, as I said earlier, prefer the saloons. Let's just have a little look in the boot. I'm looking forward to hearing this. This has got a Piper exhaust, so I'm looking forward to hearing that presently. Let's have a little look in the boot. Bit of stuff in here, but yeah, decent sized boot. Oh, try not to shut. Yeah, so you got, you know, that's a decent boot in there. So not very deep, but it goes back a long way, so you have got plenty of storage, and that's really quite nice. Let's have a little look at the interior. He says, jiggling around. So that's always good, having the release for the boot and fuel flap down here. So that's always a nice feature. If we jump inside, very different to a 25, very different to a 75 or a ZR or a ZT. Very clean layout. This one has got a passenger airbag. We've got a vent up in the dashboard here, so we've got plenty of ventilation, 4 vents all around. We've got our clock. I haven't actually popped the car on, so we'll see if the clock's working. But yeah, these really are a different beast to the ZR and the ZT, just because they've got that kind of Honda underpinning. The clock is slightly working. This one's got an aftermarket stereo. We have got AC. We'll test that in a minute to see if it's working. Radio's telling me I haven't taken the face off. So we've got our heater controls. Very different, as I say, to the 75 ZT, which has the climate control. The ZR 25, which has the much more rudimentary kind of pattern. We've got aircon. We've got recirculate. We've got ashtray, cigarette lighter. Our clock. We have got our fresh air vent, so it's still got the fresh air vent, which is nice. Front and rear fog lights on these. Our lights, say, if you look at my 25 video that I've done recently, we've got exactly the same stalks in exactly the same pattern as we have on the R3. MG style gear knob with a leather gaiter. That's in quite nice condition. Interestingly, the driver's side electric window is here on the door, but the passenger one is down here. So rather than having a cluster for all the windows, you've got one switch up here, one switch down there. So the passenger and driver have to share their switches, so they can have a right argument if the passenger wants the window up or down. No sunroof in this one, but we have got an intact headlining, and of course, being an MG, we've got the bucket seats. This one's got blue trim in the leather, but yeah, we've got very, very, very comfortable bucket seats. And that is basically the inside. Sorry, we've forgotten the back. We've got to look at the back, haven't we? Let's leave that door open so we get some ventilation in the car before we take this Monogram out. So yeah, we've got, yeah, not massive legroom in the back, but yeah, decent seats for 2 adults. Yeah, that's it. I mean, Matt, who owns this car, is quite a tall chap. I'm not. So when I slide this seat forward in a moment, we will have a little bit more room. But yeah, that's the back. Without further ado, we need to go for a drive. So what's this thing like to drive? It's got a lovely engine note, an exhaust note. It is seriously nice. Let's go down here. The sound is just lovely. The gear change is really crisp. Nice short throw. Handles beautifully. This one's on 121,000 miles, and again it feels nice and tight. I think there's been some tweakery gone on with this car, because it's yeah, it's definitely pulling very well. Yeah, the bite point on the clutch on this is quite high, but it's fine. It's yeah, it pulls away nicely. Brakes are really sharp. Yeah, it's yeah, these are a decent beast. These things, these are really a decent beast. I'm really enjoying it. I think I need to get one of these. It's the MGZ that I've not owned, and I do think I need to get one at some point. Not yet. Too many cars. Just loving the sounds that are coming out of this car as I'm driving it. Really good. So I'll get you on beard cam, because I want you to appreciate what this car sounds like. It's quite something. That was only a little blast, but it's driving along normally, just pottering around. It's quite quiet. It's quite unobtrusive. Yeah, just get your foot down, and this car sounds so blooming marvellous. Let's give it some beans up this hill. Induction noise is also just lovely. I do like these. The higher powered TF, so the TF 160, which I own, you kind of know you're doing whatever speed you're making the car do. Same with the ZR, you're much more involved. With the ZS, your driving experience is there because the steering's fantastic, suspension's fantastic, so you've got plenty of feel, but you just feel slightly removed from what your right foot is doing, because it's a bigger car, it's comfortable. The engine just sounds so good. Oh, I love it. I really like it. So thank you for watching this video on Matt's lovely Nocturne MG ZS 180. Absolute pleasure to drive this thing. If you like what you've seen here and you want to see more reviews on mainly British cars from the 90s and 2000s, then please, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you really like my stuff, then I hope it's not cheeky to ask, but please do consider paying to become a channel member. There are 3 different tiers, and you do get some little perks with each one. But for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you again very soon on the next episode of Beards and Bangers. Goodbye.